Okay, so let's look at our first example. Given that 9 multiplied by 17 is equal to 153, calculate 90 multiplied by 17. So this is an example of what we call a related calculation. If I know the answer to 9 multiplied by 17, and I know that that's 153, I can use that fact to help me calculate 90 multiplied by 17. I know that I've multiplied 9 by 10 to get to 90. And so because I've multiplied one of the numbers in my calculation by 10, that means my overall answer is also going to be 10 times greater. So I'll do 153 multiplied by 10 to give me 1,530. And that's my answer. Okay, let's look at the second one. Calculate 9 multiplied by 1,700. So again, I've written out the calculation that we're going to use to help us do this. And then beneath it, I'm going to write out the calculation that we need to do. And I want to look and see, okay, what changes have I made to the numbers that I'm multiplying by? So I have increased 17 by 100-fold. I've multiplied it by 100. So I know that my overall answer is also going to be 100 times greater. I'll do 153 multiplied by 100 to give me 15,300. Okay, let's look at the last example where we've changed both of the numbers in our calculation. So this time we're doing 90 multiplied by 170, and we want to know what that is. Let's look at each of the numbers in turn. I've multiplied 9 by 10 to get to 90, and I've multiplied 17 by 10 to get to 170. And then I want to think, what overall effect will multiplying by 10 twice have on my answer? Well, if I multiply by 10 twice, that's the same as multiplying by 100. So that's what I'm going to do to my answer. 153 multiplied by 100 is the same as the one above. It's 15,300. Pause the video and give the questions on the right hand side a go. Okay, let's run through this example. Calculate 3 multiplied by 390. So I want to look and see what change have I made to the numbers I'm multiplying by compared to the calculation I've been given. And I've multiplied 39 by 10. So I know that I'm going to have the same effect on my answer. I'm going to multiply my original answer of 117 by 10 to give me 1,170. Okay, second one, calculate 3,000 multiplied by 39. So let's see what changes we've made compared to our original. Well, I've multiplied the 3 by 1,000 to get to 3,000. There's been no change between the 39s. So I'm going to multiply my answer by 1,000. 117 multiplied by 1,000 is 117,000. Okay, let's look at the third one. Calculate 300 multiplied by 390. So I've changed both of the numbers this time. My 3 has got 100 times larger, and my 39 has got 10 times larger. So I want to see what overall effect is multiplying by 100 and then multiplying by 10. Well, that would be the same as multiplying by 1,000. Okay, so I'm going to do 117 multiplied by 1,000 to give me 117,000. Okay, let's look at the next type of example, which involves decreasing by powers of 10. Given that 11 multiplied by 15 is equal to 165, calculate 1.1 multiplied by 15. I've just written out the original calculation, and then let's write out the one that we want to do. So we want to do 1.1 multiplied by 15, and I can see that I've made the 11 10 times smaller. I've divided by 10, and so I'm going to have the same effect on my answer. I'm going to divide my original answer by 10. 165 divided by 10 is 16.5. Let's look at the second one. Calculate 11 multiplied by 0.15. So if I do 11 multiplied by 0.15, I can see that I've divided the 15 by 100. I'm going to have the same effect on my answer. I'll divide my answer by 100. 165 divided by 100. How many 100s go into 165? Well, 1.65 is my answer. Okay, let's look at the last one. Calculate 0.11 multiplied by 1,500. In this case, my 11 has been divided by 100. It's been made smaller. And the 15 has been multiplied by 100 to give me 1,500. So I've made two changes, and let's look at them each in turn so that we can keep track of it very clearly. So let's just focus on the 1,500 first. I'm going to look at the calculation 11 multiplied by 1,500. And to go from 15 to 1,500, I multiplied by 100. So I'm going to do the same thing to my answer. I'm going to multiply that by 100. 165 multiplied by 100 is 16,500. Okay, once I've got that stage, I can then look at the change from 11 to 0.11. I'm doing this in stages. I look at my 11, I can see that I've divided that by 100, made it 100 times smaller. So I'm going to need to make my answer 100 times smaller. 16,500 divided by 100 is 165. And so that's my final answer. Pause the video and give the questions on the right a go. Okay, let's give this one a go. Calculate 7 multiplied by 0.19. So my 7 hasn't changed, but my 19 has been divided by 100 to take it to 0.19. And so I want to do the same thing to my answer. I want to divide 133 by 100 to give me 1.33. Okay, let's look at the second example. Calculate 0.7 multiplied by 19. So my 7 has been divided by 10 to take it to 0.7. My 19 remains unchanged. So I only have one thing to consider, the division by 10. I'll divide my answer by 10. 133 divided by 10 is 13.3. Okay, let's look at the last one. Calculate 700 multiplied by 1.9. So my 7 has got 100 times larger, and I'll just look at that change initially, and I'll leave the 19 intact and come back to that. So if my 7's got 100 times larger, then my answer is also going to be 100 times larger. 133 multiplied by 100 is 13,300. Now let's look at the 19. So the 19 is divided by 10 to take us to 1.9. So I'm going to divide my answer by 10. I'll knock a 0 off the end, 1,330. If you're following along in our lesson booklets, feel free to pause the video and complete exercise 1, or if you want to watch the whole video and then go back and complete the exercises, then that's fine as well. Okay, so the next type of examples that we're going to look at are ones that involve division. So let's have a look. Given that 23 multiplied by 45 is 1035, calculate 1035 divided by 23. So really what we're asking there is how many 23s go into 1035? Well, we know that 45 23s make 1035. So our answer is 45. 23 goes in 45 times. So if we look at the second question, it says calculate 10.35 divided by 23. So I can see that my 1035 has been divided by 100. The 23 remains intact. There's no change there. And whenever I change the number that is being divided, the same change happens to my answer. So I'm going to divide 45 by 100, and that gives me 0.45. Let's look at our third example. Calculate 1035 divided by 230. So this time the change is happening to the number that we are dividing by. And it's really helpful to think of division as splitting into groups. Our original calculation is 1035 divided into 23 equal groups, and in each group there would be 45. And in the calculation that we want to work out, we are dividing it into 230 groups. We're actually splitting our number, our original number, into more groups. And if we split our number into more groups, there are going to be less in each group. So we've multiplied the number we're dividing by 10, which actually means our answer is divided by 10 to give us 4.5. So the key principle there is we're splitting into more groups, 10 times more groups. So there are 10 times less in each group. So to help us understand this idea of changing the number we're dividing by having an inverse effect on our answer, let's look at this picture example. So here we have a 10 by 10 grid of people. And if we split it into two groups, that would be represented by this calculation. So 100 people divided into two groups, which would give us 50. And as you can see, as we split it into four groups, there are now less people in each group. We've increased the number of groups. The number of people in each group is decreasing. And as we continue through this, we split it into more and more groups. There are less and less people in each group. So that explains what was going on when we increased the number of groups we were splitting into. We actually decreased our overall answer. Pause the video and give the questions on the right a go. Let's run through them. Given that 51 multiplied by 15 is 765, calculate 765 divided by 15. How many times does 15 go into 765? Well, we know it goes in 51 times. Let's use that to calculate the second question. Calculate 76.5 divided by 15. Well, I've decreased the number that is being divided by 10, which means my answer is also decreased by 10. It's really important that we understand the difference between when the number that is being divided, like in this case, is changed, and the answer having the same change applied to it, and when the number that we are dividing by is changed. That's when we have the inverse effect on our answer. So in this case, the number that is being divided has been changed, so the same change occurs to my answer. Let's look at the third example where the number we're dividing by has been changed. So calculate 765 divided by 1,500. So we'll use our related calculation. So we'll do 765 divided by 1,500. So we've multiplied the number we're dividing by 100. In other words, we're splitting it into 100 times more groups, which means there's going to be 100 times less in each group. 51 divided by 100 is 0.51. Let's look at the next example. Given that 1035 divided by 23 is equal to 45, calculate 1035 divided by 2.3. So the number that is being divided has not changed, but the number I'm dividing by has been divided by 10. So instead of splitting into 23 groups, I'm splitting it into 10 times less groups into only 2.3 groups. And if I'm splitting the same number into less groups, I'm expecting more in each group. And that's where we have this inverse effect on our answer. Instead of dividing my answer by 10, I actually multiply it by 10. 45 multiplied by 10 is 450. And our last example, calculate 10,350 divided by 0.23. So I'm changing both numbers this time, both the number that is being divided and the number I'm dividing by. I want to do this in 2 steps so I get it right. I'm careful. Let's look at the change to go from 1,035 to 10,350. So I've made that 10 times larger, and I'll keep the number I'm dividing by exactly the same. So I just do one change at a time. When it's the number that is being divided being changed, the same change happens to my answer. So I'm going to make my answer 10 times larger. 45 times 10 is 450. And then from there, I can look at the change that has occurred to the number that I'm dividing by. So we've got 10,350 divided by 0.23. To go from 23 to 0.23 is dividing by 100. And remember, when the change occurs to the number we're dividing by, the inverse happens to our answer. So I'm actually going to multiply my answer by 100. Again, if we're dividing it into less groups, we're expecting more in each group, which is why we see that. So 450 multiplied by 100 is 45,000. Pause the video and give the 2 questions on the right-hand side a go. Let's run through them. Given that 765 divided by 15 is equal to 51, calculate 765 divided by 0.15. So no change has occurred to the number that is being divided, but the number that I'm dividing by, 15, has been divided by 100. I'm splitting it into 100 times less groups. So I'm expecting 100 times more in each group. 51 multiplied by 100 is 5,100. And number 5, calculate 7.65 divided by 0.15. So I've changed both numbers this time. Let's start with this number that is being divided, by 15 I mean. So I've made that 100 times smaller. Let's keep the 15 here and look at that change in a second. So I made the number that is being divided 100 times smaller. So the same effect is going to happen to my answer. I'm going to take my answer of 51 divided by 100 to give me 0.51. Now we'll look at the change to the number that we are dividing by. So we've got our 7.65. And instead of dividing by 15, we want to divide by 0.15. And that is a change of dividing by 100. But because it's the number we're dividing by, the inverse is going to happen to my answer. So instead of my answer being divided by 100, I'm actually going to multiply it by 100. 0.51 multiplied by 100, it just undoes the step that we did before, and it takes us right back to where we started at 51. Let me know in the comments if you got that one right. If you're following along in our lesson booklet, please pause the video and complete exercise 2. So our next example says, use the distributive property to calculate 7 multiplied by 13. So what it means by the distributive property is this. Instead of doing 7 multiplied by 13, I can split apart one of my numbers. So in this case, I'll split the 13 into 10 add 3. And what I can do is I can do 7 lots of 10, so 7 multiplied by 10, and then add on 7 lots of 3. And I would write that like this. 7 times 10 is 70, and 7 times 3 is 21. And then I can add those together to give me 91. Let's look at the next example. 11 multiplied by 14. This time I'm actually going to split the 11 into 10 add 1 and multiply that by 14. I can do 10 lots of 14 and then add on 1 lot of 14 after that. I don't really have to write the 1 multiplied by 14 there. 10 multiplied by 14 is 140. Add on that extra lot of 14 and I'll do that calculation. 140 add 14 to give me 154. And the last example, 4 multiplied by 19. So what I can do here is I can actually do 20 lots of 4 and then take away 1 lot of 4. And we would show that like this. So we'll change our 19 into 20 subtract 1. And what I can do is I can do 4 lots of 20. And then I can take away 1 lot of 4. So 4 lots of 20 is 80. Take away 4. 80 subtract 4 is 76. Pause the video and give these questions a go. Use the distributive property to calculate 8 multiplied by 15. So I can split apart my 15 into 10 add 5. And I can do 8 lots of 10 and then add on 8 lots of 5. 8 lots of 10 is 80. 8 lots of 5 is 40. 80 add 40 is 120. In the second example, 12 multiplied by 15. I can split either number here really. Let's go for the first one. So I'll split my 12 into 10 add 2. And I'm going to multiply that by 15. I can do 10 lots of 15 and then add on 2 lots of 15. 10 lots of 15 is 150 and 2 lots of 15 is 30. And then I can add 150 and 30 together to give me 180. And number 3, 3 multiplied by 29. I'm going to change the 29 into 30 subtract 1. And what I can do is I can do 30 lots of 3 and then take away 3 from that. I'll do 3 lots of 30 and then take away 1 lot of 3 after that. 3 multiplied by 30 is 90. Subtract 3. 90 subtract 3 is 87. Okay, our next example says use the distributive property to calculate 101 multiplied by 6. So in this example, I can do 100 lots of 6 and then add on 1 lot of 6. To show that mathematically, I will split my 100 and 1, into 100 add 1 and multiply that by 6. I can do 100 lots of 6, so 100 multiplied by 6, and then add on 1 multiplied by 6. 100 multiplied by 6 is 600, and 1 multiplied by 6 is 6. Adding those together gives me 606. Number 5, 1.5 multiplied by 8. So here what I can do is I can actually split my 1.5 into 1 add 0.5, and remember 0.5 is a half, and multiply that by 8. And what I can do is I can do 1 lot of 8 and then add on half of it. So we'll show this like this, 1 multiplied by 8, and then add on half of it. 1 multiplied by 8 is 8, and half of it is 4. 8 add 4 is 12. And the last example, 1 3/4 multiplied by 12. I can part my 1 3/4 into 1 add 3/4 and multiply that by 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 1 lot of 12 and then add on 3/4 of 12. So 1 multiplied by 12 and then add on 3/4 of 12 over here. Really quickly, 1/4 of 12 is 12 divided by 4, which is 3. So 3/4 of 12 is going to be 3 times that, which is 9. So coming back to our calculation, 1 multiplied by 12 is 12, and we've said that 3/4 of 12 is 9. I can't click down there, so 12 add 9 is 21. Pause the video and give these questions a go, and make sure to leave all of your answers in the comments. Okay, so let's run through your examples. Use the distributive property to calculate 102 multiplied by 7. So I'm going to change 102 into 100 add 2 multiplied by 7. And I'm going to do 100 lots of 7. So 100 multiplied by 7. And I'm going to add on 2 multiplied by 7. 100 multiplied by 7 is 700. Add 2 multiplied by 7, which is 14. Add those together to give me 714. Okay, let's look at the next example. So 2.5 multiplied by 12. Let's split 2.5 into 2, add 1/2, which I'm going to write as 0.5, and multiply that by 12. So I will do 2 lots of 12, and then I'm going to add on 1/2 of 12. 2 multiplied by 12 is 24, and 1/2 of 12 is 6. 24 add 6 is 30. Last example, 2.5 multiplied by 6. So I'll split 2.5, just like the previous one, into 2, add 1/2. And I'm going to multiply that by 6. So I'll do 2 lots of 6, and then I'm going to add 1/2 of 6. 2 lots of 6 is 12, and 1/2 of 6 is 3. 12 add 3 is 15. If you're following along in our lesson booklets, please complete exercises 3 and 4. Thank you for watching this video. At Maths Logos, we offer online lessons, self-paced courses, and private tutoring. So if you're interested in any of that, please feel free to check out the description of this video. Thank you for watching.